Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the deal. We're retired New York City police detectives. And if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when he's available, when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, the search for Baby Emmanuel. We saw the search groups out on Sunday. That was just yesterday. And today there was no searching. Jake Haro, the monster, I don't even like to refer to him as a father. He's an evil demon. Jake and Rebecca are arrested and in jail right now. We saw Jake. He was brought out by the county sheriffs, by the Riverside County sheriffs, and also they're both, it's a combination of two different counties, Riverside County and also the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. It was a huge contingent searching for Emmanuel's remains. It was negative results, but tonight we're going to get into the canine experts. We have Brian, who has been a guest on the show with Oklahoma Search and Rescue, and Dave Rader, the director of EquuSearch Midwest. We're going to go into what it takes to do a massive search, as we saw yesterday. But a special thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, the moderators, replay viewers. Ed and I, we love the replay viewers. And again, we're going to get into some education tonight on how these cadaver dogs, what they do, what their capabilities are, and what are some of the challenges when you search out in a mountainous area like what we saw yesterday. So let's take a listen to this and we'll be right back with you.
Right now at 11, new developments in the case of baby Emmanuel. His father seen in a prisoner jumpsuit today, helping detectives search through a field in Riverside County. As both parents...
Let me just say the father did not help in the search. The father was there. The monster was there to direct them to where they dumped this baby. So I just want to correct these reports. And I know reporters have a job to do, and I get it. They have to make it sound nice. But make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, this monster, this evil demon did not help search for the very baby that he murdered, his son. He did not help. So let's get that straight.
Field in Riverside County, as both parents remain in custody on suspicion of murder. I'm Kathy Vara.
And I'm Jonathan Gonzalez. Those new developments today drawing search teams and investigators as well as cadaver dogs to the scene there. There has been a widely publicized search across the Inland Empire since Emmanuel's parents claimed the 7-month-old was kidnapped in Yucaipa on August 14th.
From there, detectives say their story fell apart, arresting the parents at their home in Cabazon on Friday.
And then today, search and rescue crews were seen looking for the remains of the missing infant.
NBC4's Tracy Leon live in San Bernardino County with an update on the search. Tracy?
Yeah, Kathy and Jonathan, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department led the search and rescue operation earlier today in Moreno Valley. They were not able to locate Emanuel Haro, and at this point, they do not believe he is alive, and they say their search and their investigation will continue until they find the baby's remains.
Search and rescue teams spent hours combing through rugged terrain along the 60 westbound freeway near Gilman Springs Road in Moreno Valley Sunday afternoon, looking for 7-month-old Emanuel Haro. The baby's father, Jake Haro, was also at the location with detectives.
In my experience, when somebody is being let out and being escorted to a particular area to look for a body who has been unaccounted for, and they believe is a victim of a murder, that tells me that the person is sharing enough information.
Private investigator Moses Castillo investigated.
I want to just piggyback off of what retired LAPD Detective Moses Castillo said here. This perp, this monster, Jake Haro, he is separated from his wife, Rebecca. So there's a chance here, ladies and gentlemen, there's a chance that he is telling investigators that the wife did it. You know, that pointing the finger at each other. There's a chance that he is telling them that, listen, my wife killed the baby. This is where she dumped him. This is what she told me. It could be something as sinister as that, or it could be something as simple as, hey, he wants to maybe get some leniency, because as we know in his previous charges of torturing and brutally assaulting his daughter, he received a slap on the wrist, 6 months. So maybe for cooperation, they promised him something. There's those two possibilities. And there's also a third possibility that he was trying to clear his conscience, which I doubt. I doubt that. But that could be one of three possibilities of why he went out there. I think the first one is a little bit more up his alley, is that he pointed the finger at Rebecca and said she was the one who murdered the baby. Not me. She did it.
Private investigator Moses Castillo investigated crimes against children during his more than 30-year career with the LAPD.
If it's true that the body was dumped somewhere in the fields, by now with the hot weather and the length of time, the body is decomposing and it's going to be in very bad condition. But they could still do an autopsy and try to determine the manner and cause of death. If there's some abusive head trauma, they'll be able to see that.
Emmanuel's parents, Jake and Rebecca Haro, were arrested Friday on suspicion of murder. Officials believe the 7-month-old is dead and his reported kidnapping did not happen. Emanuel was first reported missing August 14th. His mother, Rebecca, told investigators she was attacked at the Big Five in Yucaipa and someone took her baby.
And again, they reported him August 14th. This baby could have been murdered days before that, a week before it. We don't know. All I know is the story on August 14th was bullshit. And I'm sure that it didn't just happen on that day. So we could be looking at a time frame of much further in the past. I don't know how long. And Susan King, she says the young boy at 12 years old who needed the mouthpiece at the game, he lives with the mother and he could tell police when he last saw Emanuel. You can bet your bottom dollar that he was talked to, through social workers, through detectives. The young boy was interviewed.
After deputies confronted her about inconsistencies in the story, both parents stopped cooperating with investigators. According to law enforcement, Jake was convicted in 2021 for cruelty to a child and in 2024 for being a felon in possession of a handgun. Jake's car was also recently seized by law enforcement. Castillo expects law enforcement to be back in the same search area tomorrow to thoroughly scour the area to ensure they didn't miss anything.
Give him a decency of a funeral or a resting place for him, because no child should ever endure something like this. So my heart goes out to Emanuel and everybody impacted by this.
Amen to that. And that's a true sign of a retired police detective. So, hey, without further ado, we have Dave Rader, the director of EquuSearch Midwest. He's joining us to talk about the search. And we also have Brian Smith, Oklahoma Search and Rescue. He's going to be joining us as well. So without further ado, Dave, Brian, thank you for being here, guys. And Brian, I know Thanks I screwed it up. You can correct me on the organization. I said Search and Rescue. It's something else, right?
It's Oklahoma City Metro Search and Rescue.
Thank you. Thank you. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking out the time to educate our audience with the experience that you have, Brian, and the many, many years of experience that both of you have in searching for the missing. I thought this was a great opportunity to talk about Emanuel, a young 7 to 9 month old baby who stands about 2 feet, a couple of inches tall, and somewhere between 17 to 20 pounds, 15 to 20 pounds. If in fact, Dave, the parents, one or the other or both, discarded this child in that location for this many days, we're talking about extreme temperatures. We're talking indigent wildlife, things like wild turkey vultures, reptiles, birds, spiders, rattlesnakes, mountain lions, bobcats, coyotes, mule deer, wild donkeys. Dave, your thoughts?
Again, TikTok is they were on the clock, and just like you had said before, we really don't. We're going off of what was told by the father. So on the 14th, this could be a week before, 2 weeks before, prior. Who knows at this point in time? The only thing we can go off of is it's been about 2 weeks, and in those, with the size of this baby, that's at its biggest point. So you don't know on how condensed a body can actually be. So that 2 foot could be cut in half easily. So this when I seen this in the news and I was kind of doing my background on it and everything. And Brian, I think that you're going to agree with me on this, is that it almost reminds me of Joe Clyde Daniels in Tennessee.
Absolutely.
Where the father of an autistic child went out and told him right where he was. And Brian was on the search with us in Tennessee. And the massive undertaking, that's where we had 500 people on McElhaney Road, covering a 3-mile road that was well orchestrated. It takes a lot of manpower to do this. It takes a lot of thought process, a lot of went into this search. But that's exactly what this reminded me of, is that the father took him out to McElhaney Road, and we threw 500 people at it for a couple of days with dogs and hell, we threw in a kitchen sink, and that child was not there. So again, he could be misleading. Again, it's just a sad case any way you look at it. They just think that these children that have problems or deficiencies or whatever, that they're just disposable, and people, we need to wake up and hold these people more accountable, or else this is going to continue.
Yeah, Dave, I talked with Brian on the phone today just for a few minutes, and he immediately mentioned Joe Clyde Daniels. He went missing April 4th of 2018. His father was charged in jail, in prison as we speak. And from conversation with Brian, the Innocence Project is looking to spring him out, looking at inconsistencies in the prosecution's case and so forth. But yes, this case does ring true to a similar situation. It's just that here we have a husband and wife, two very bad people who have, the husband has a bad criminal record, crimes against his own flesh and blood. His daughter has 3% brain function, broke several of her ribs. He fractured her skull, broke her legs, and he claimed to the police that she fell in the sink while he was giving her a bath. And this is at 10 weeks old. In 2018, he received 2023 a sentence of 6 months and a slap on the wrist with some community service and some child parenting programs, and the state of California deemed him to be a productive person to put back into society. Fast forward to 2025, we have a dead 7 to 9 month old baby. We don't even know how old Emanuel is. Some say 7 months, some say he's 9 months. So we haven't had the details. But Brian, I wanted to go to you quickly to talk about this search. And it's confirmed, they use cadaver dogs. Quite a few of them were on the scene. And there was a lot of reporters, news reporters from different outlets. But there was one person in particular that went down there on the Tierra, I believe was a TikTok account. And he actually stuck the microphone in the search and rescue. I believe it was the San Bernardino search and rescue. They're attached to the police department, Brian. And he asked one of the girls if that was a cadaver dog. And she didn't answer him. The actual dog handler didn't answer him. But the person behind him said yes, answered yes. Looking at this location, given the mountainous terrain and so forth, what are some of the challenges that cadaver dogs have in finding the remains of a little small 7 to 9 month old baby, Brian?
Absolutely. The biggest challenge is odor movement. Most cadaver dog handlers study scent theory, and scent theory tells us that odor moves and behaves in unusual ways, things that you wouldn't normally expect. You think, oh, well, it's coming from over there, I smell it. But that's not necessarily always the case. Odor can move up. It's called chimney, and it can move up through the trees and then catch a breeze and drop down on the ground 20, 30, 40, even 100 yards away. So where you're smelling it over here, it's actually coming from way over there. So that's the biggest challenge. And with the hills and the valleys and the terrain changes, in the morning, odor can go downhill, and in the afternoons, the odor may move uphill. And it's always a challenge for a canine handler to put their dog in the best position to make the find. And so understanding scent theory is a big part of that.
Yeah, 100%. Brian, I also want people to know that this is what you do. Can you please just give some of the folks that are new in the chat, because we have quite a few new subscribers since last time you came on, just give the audience a little bit of your background and your expertise. And you have a cadaver dog and you have other dogs. I see them in the background. They're all over the place. So just give the audience a little bit of your background, how long you've been doing this, and what are you doing?
So I've been doing search and rescue now for 11 years. And a big part of what we do is more search and recovery than it is search and rescue, just simply because we don't get involved in these cases until after the fact. And that's just the way it is. In Oklahoma, we don't have huge wilderness areas where people get hopelessly lost when they're hiking. So most of the time, our missing persons are autistic children, seniors with dementia. We get the occasional lost hiker. But, and then we get a lot of just, missing person searches that we don't know why they went missing. They just disappeared, and, and maybe they're suicidal, or maybe they're, have mental challenges. There's a lot of different reasons why people can go missing, but, we don't get the opportunity to do a lot of the live rescues like you see in Colorado and New Mexico, even next door in Arkansas. Right. Where they have those big wilderness areas where people can get lost, and then search and rescue comes in and finds them out on the trail.
Right. Well, we thank you for what you do. I mean, it's God's work as far as I'm concerned, and it's all volunteer work, right?
Correct.
I'm getting paid for this stuff. So it's important that people support these search and rescue groups. And just so everybody knows, and Dave, I know you know this, the San Bernardino County Search and Rescue that was out there, they are majority all volunteers. They're not getting paid. So that search and rescue that we saw out on Sunday, searching for baby Emmanuel, they are not paid. They work outside of, through the arm of the San Bernardino County Sheriff, but they're volunteers. I went to the website and I checked it out. Yes, we know that Jake, the monster, Jake Haro, did assault his 10-week, not 10 months, 10-week-old daughter in 2018. That's monstrous in itself. The real travesty of justice is that the state of California allowed this monster to re-enter society to further commit more crimes against his own. And it's just a miracle that his other children that was in his custody, and the other aunts, the other nieces and nephews that he may or may not have been around, they too were in danger of being around this monster. Brian, I want you to look at this, and Dave also, the terrain. This is a short little video. I'm not going to put any audio to it, but this is the mountainous terrain, and then I'll come back to you guys after we look at this, that they had to search for baby Emmanuel. I mean, that's overwhelming when you look at that, and you look at when that camera pans out. Again, this is the spot where my cursor is where all the search activity was, up and down and around this valley. But I want to go to you, Dave, on that search area, the difficulties, some of the challenges that ground searchers would come into play here if EquuSearch Midwest was on it. Just give the audience a little bit of what would go into that and how difficult or how easy would it be?
So again, it looks very impressive. It looks overwhelming. But if you look at just the average Joe, they're only going to be able to get to certain specific areas. So like the real tall peaks of these mountains and the tops of these things, you can kind of rule that out. So basically, if I was doing the search, I would be concentrating on the flat pieces. I would be anything that would be accessible to a small car, SUV, 4x4, and then those would be my hot spots because again, he's not going to work at this. He's wanting to get rid of this as fast as he possibly can without being detected, not staying in the area too long. It's a dump and go. And again, it sounds like he may have maybe done this, thought this out. So again, now that plays into it. So if it's something that is like right now, like it just happened, a no shit moment, then they're not going to go too far into this. Now, don't know if he thought this thing out and planned this out. Did he go and pre-dig an area? And when this was done, then all he had to do was go, drop it in, cover it up, and go. So there's a lot of things that we're not being told in as we're not going to learn. But there's a lot of working pieces behind the scenes. But as far as from a search perspective, drones number one. I would have used the technology that we have from Shane through that you can tell if a piece of ground has been disturbed. That would take a lot of the equation out of this for ground pounders. Use your technology first and then go into it as a secondary, and then throw in the dogs as your third choice. That way you've hit this damn thing with everything that you've got. So when you leave there, you feel pretty comfortable that you haven't missed a thing.
Yeah, like you always say, you want to throw the kitchen sink at it. Brian, again, there was multiple cadaver dogs there. I did see many different angles with different news shots, and it seemed like there was a lot more, obviously, ground searchers than there were the dogs. But talk about the cadaver dogs and what their capabilities are as it pertains to this search. You're looking for a 7 to 9 month old baby that may have been discarded more than 2 weeks ago. They reported August 14th. It's now the 25th. They were out there on the 24th. So, just go with what you have there and that terrain. How would they go about this? What's the procedure? How does this go in a search like this? Everybody wants to know, Brian.
Sure. So the main thing with bringing the dogs in is the dogs are able to cover a lot of ground a lot faster than human ground searchers can, especially if it's terrain that's hard to see, difficult visibility, lots of scrub, lots of brush, lots of trees. Those dogs are able to detect and move through those areas a lot quicker. And then obviously the dog's nose. I mean, that's why we bring them in. A dog's nose is 10,000 times more powerful than a human's nose. And Not only that, a dog smells in stereo. So when a dog it takes odor into their nose, they can determine if it's coming from the right nostril or the left nostril, and direction and change and work to that area. Dogs do what we call working the scent cone. And so they're walking in the odor until there is no odor. Then they'll turn around and go back through the scent cone, and they work those negatives like, okay, there's nothing here, let's go back. There's nothing here, let's go back, until they can narrow that cone down to the point or the origin or the source of the odor.
Now, Brian, I have to ask you this, and there may or may not be a definitive answer. And I know this question is on the hearts and on the minds of all who are following this, whether it's somebody in the United States or outside the country, because this is an international case. They searched all day yesterday on Sunday. They didn't go back, at least known to us, to this location, because news reporters are following this. You know how they do it. If the cadaver dogs did not pick up any sense where Jake Haro told them he disposed of baby Emmanuel, and the cadaver dogs went out there into that particular area, what's the percentage of definitive, is it 100%? Is it 50%? I mean, I know you probably can't put a percentage on it, but how good are these dogs at clearing an area that they went in for hours yesterday and they said nothing? They found no sign of human remains, like no blood scent, no human remains scent. How good are they, Brian?
So they're real good. And here's the thing. What you're talking about is a terminology that we use called probability of detection. So what's the probability of detection? When we search this area, what's the probability that if the target we're looking for is in the area, what's the probability percentage that we would have found it? And I can tell you right now, 50% or below is pretty common, pretty average for a probability of detection. In order to get something higher, up into the 70s, up into the 80s, actually requires multiple searches over multiple different operational periods. So, you know, when they say that, you know, they didn't find anything, what they're actually saying is their dogs had no behavior change. So when you're searching with your canine, the job of the canine handler is to read the dog's behavior. For example, my dog, I know when she gets an odor, she has a very, very distinct behavior change. She slows down. She stops moving fast. When she's searching, she's going. When she slows down, that's an indication that she might be in odor. When she's searching, her tail flies like a flag. It's up and she's having a good time. When she gets in odor, that tail drops and starts hanging low. And then her third tail is her ears. If something has piqued her interest, her ears normally lay down, but when she's interested in something, the ears go up. And so, you know, that's how we can tell, like, okay, my dog's behavior is indicating that she's got odor. And that's when we work to bring the dog to the source of the odor. So in searches, like we did a search over the weekend, and every area that I put my dog in, her behavior never changed. And what that tells me is, you know, there's no sign of the person that we're looking for in the area that we were searching.
Now, Brian, you said multiple searches at different times. Now, there were multiple dogs at that location, cadaver dogs. I saw 2 or 3, but that's just from news reports, so there could have been more. Do they do these in shifts? Because people want to know about that as well. Isn't it true that there is only a certain amount of time that you can get from a working dog to go out there? You've got heat. You've got in the wildlife where you got to watch about snakes, but definitely the heat has to take a toll on them. You're the expert. I'm just asking the questions.
Absolutely. Heat is a factor. Terrain is a factor. If there's a lot of elevation change, that's going to wear your dog out faster. And then the other thing that people don't realize is scent work is very taxing on the dog's brain. When they're out there, she's evaluating every odor that she comes across. And the way I explain it to people is, you know, the easiest way to explain it is when you go into the house and grandma's got a pot of beans on the stove, what you smell is the conglomeration of odors that is the pot of beans. Mm-hmm. You can't detect, oh, grandma put ham in the beans just from the smell. You can't say, oh, you know, grandma put too much oregano in the beans just from the smell. A dog can do that. A dog can take a conglomerated odor, many odors, and separate that odor into multiple scent pictures and say, okay, that's not a target. That's not a target. That's not a target. that is a target. And that's what we do is we work hard to imprint these dogs on target odors. And for a cadaver dog, that's going to be human tissue, blood, bone, hair, teeth, skin, whatever we can get.
Biological matter. That's an interesting statement that you made there, and obviously a true one. But many times, and again, I'm sorry for anyone who suffers from PTSD. A little bit of a difficult conversation to have here, but many times when these monsters who murder their own children or just murder somebody, significant other, they will discard them like garbage, and they will discard them amongst garbage in garbage containers. We see people go to different, large communities where multiple people are taking their garbage, and they figure, mix in. No dog will be able to detect it because garbage does smell awful when, meat and chicken and all different, things that are discarded in today's garbage. These dogs can detect the difference, as you were just saying about grandma's special sauce and something cooking on the pot. They can detect the difference between human smell, human odor, decomposing human odor, and garbage or anything else, correct?
If the dog is trained properly, absolutely. That's what we call proofing. So one of the things we do is we proof our dogs off of common distractions that you might find. In other words, we'll have a dead animal in our training area along with human remains in the training area. So when we're working the dog, we want to make sure that the dog ignores the animal remains. And if they do show any interest, we give them a leave it command. That's not it. For the dog, when I say leave it, the dog knows, okay, that's not my target, and they keep moving. We do that with food, hot dogs, old rotten pork chops, old animal bones, decomposing animal carcasses. We even go as far as to proof our dogs off of menstrual blood, because we don't want our dogs, if you're ever in a search for blood, you don't want your dog to alert on menstrual blood, especially if in a situation like you might be searching in the garbage, you're going to come across menstrual blood in the garbage, and you don't want your dog alerting to that. You want your dog to alerting to pre and post-mortem blood only.
That's fascinating, and I appreciate the education, Brian. Chaos Divers, great friend. Thank you, Jacob, for the 10. I absolutely love Jacob's words, and support DutyRon. Thank you for bringing these cases to light. I appreciate you. Hey, we appreciate what you do. And I know, Dave, Jacob. I think he was the recipient of the Waters boat. No?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great to see you, Jacob and Lindsay. Hope you guys are doing well and stay safe out there. Brian, it's fascinating the amount of training that goes into a cadaver dog. And I know training is always ongoing because I talked to many canine handlers across the country, and NYPD had their own canine unit, and the training never ends. It's ongoing and active all the time, correct?
Correct. In our circles, the circles that I, came up in the canine training world, is 16 hours a month at a minimum.
Wow.
That's at a minimum. As for me and my dog, we train about 3 to 4 times a week.
Wow. It's just to keep up and keep them sharp. So it's great to know. A lot of people in the chat, let us know in the chat if you were aware of this. Some people may be aware of it. Some people may not be aware of it. I see a lot of oohs and ahs in the chat. Hey, guys, let us know. Did you know that this type of training goes on with the cadaver dogs and different various search dogs? There's all different types, Brian, and I'm going to go into that with you in a minute. But Dave, I wanted to play this little clip and then go to you, because this is going to show some of the searchers, and I want you to not maybe it'll be a little critiquing from an expert's point of view on the search that we saw on Sunday. And don't forget, Dave and Brian, the search that we did see was what the news provided to us. It was not indicative of what the entire totality of all of the search. I think it went on for a great part of the day. They had to call it, obviously, when it starts to, they lose daylight, and for, safety purposes. So, this is a small tidbit, but I want to take a peek at it.
Now at 11, new developments in the case of baby Emmanuel. His father seen in a prisoner jumpsuit today, helping detectives search through a field in Riverside County as both parents remain in custody on suspicion of murder. I'm Kathy Vara.
And I'm Jonathan Gonzalez. Those new developments today drawing search teams and investigators as well as cadaver dogs to the scene there. There has been a widely publicized search across the Inland Empire since Emmanuel's parents claimed the 7-month-old was kidnapped in Yucaipa on August 14th.
From there, detectives say their story fell apart, arresting the parents at their home in Cabazon on Friday.
And then today, search and rescue crews were seen looking for the remains of the missing infant.
NBC4's Tracy Leon live in San Bernardino County with an update on the search. Tracy?
Yeah, Kathy and Jonathan, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department led the search and rescue operation earlier today in Moreno Valley. They were not able to locate Emanuel Haro, and at this point, they do not believe he is alive, and they say their search and their investigation will continue until they find the baby's remains.
Search and rescue teams spent hours combing through rugged terrain along the 60 westbound freeway near Gilman Springs Road in Moreno Valley Sunday afternoon, looking for 7-month-old Emanuel Haro. The baby's father, Jake Haro, was also at the location with detectives.
In my experience, when somebody is being let out and being escorted to a particular area to look for a body who has been unaccounted for, and they believe is a victim of a murder, that tells me that the person is sharing enough information.
Private investigator Moses Castillo investigated crimes against children during his more than 30-year career with the LAPD.
If it's true that the body was dumped somewhere in the fields, by now with the hot weather and the length of time, the body is decomposing and it's going to be in very bad condition. But they could still do an autopsy and try to determine the manner and cause of death. If there's some abusive head trauma, they'll be able to see that.
Emmanuel's parents, Jake and Rebecca Haro, were arrested Friday on suspicion of murder. Officials believe the 7-month-old is dead and his reported kidnapping.
Is there anybody here in the chat maybe that would agree or disagree with me? Every photo that has been released, and again, I'm assuming this was released by the family, this boy, Emanuel, does not look right. Does not look like he's well cared for. He looks frightened. He's cross-eyed. I know that they said that was something that he suffered from, but I would be real curious to know what his, what his care was. Did he go to a pediatrician for wellness checks? What, if any, did the pediatricians find wrong with him? Did he have any bruising on his body? I mean, for me, this child does not look right in any of them, any picture. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Let me know what you think in the live chat.
Did not happen. Emanuel was first reported missing August 14th. His mother, Rebecca, told investigators she was attacked at the Big Five in Yucaipa and someone took her baby. After deputies confronted her about inconsistencies in the story, both parents stopped cooperating with investigators. According to law enforcement, Jake was convicted in 2021 for cruelty to a child and in 2024 for being a felon in possession of a handgun. Jake's car was also...
For those 2 charges alone, this scumbag, this piece of human garbage, Jake Haro, should not have seen the light of day. Shame on the district attorney, shame on the judge, shame on the system, shame on the laws that are on the books in the state of California, because I got to tell you, this is a disgrace that this piece of human excrement was out amongst civilian population. And look at what the end results. Look at what the fallout is. We have a dead 7 to 9 month old baby. Shame. Shame on you.
Also recently seized by law enforcement. Castillo expects law enforcement to be back in the same search area tomorrow to thoroughly scour the area to ensure they didn't miss anything.
Give them a decency of a funeral or a resting.
All right, it gets me angry when I see this. So I got to put us back on because I see somebody in the video here. Brian, who do you got there?
This is Canine Siri.
And
that's her favorite yellow ball that she's trying to get me to throw to her.
Yeah, and I heard a ruckus in the background. That was her jumping on.
Yeah.
Dave, I wanted to go to you as it pertains to the search. We saw on the screen there quite a few personnel, but I just wanted to talk to you about when you go out and you do these kind of searches. What's the general consensus on the way to cover the most ground?
Well, again, as I was saying before, as far as you put your technology first if you have it available, and then you put as many ground pounders as you possibly can to cover the area as thoroughly as you can. Now we're only getting tidbits as far as on what we're being shown, and the thing is that when you see the searchers that are 30, 40 feet from each other, to me that's a no-go. You have to tighten your grid pattern up on this and get a better handle, because you are looking for something that is so small, so minute. And again, if that child was not put in anything, you're looking at 2 feet, and then if you condense that, you could possibly have that child wrapped up in something. It's only the size of a foot long, and that's something that again with the decomp that's going on in the animal scatter, you got to really, you're looking for the smallest of bones. Hands, feet, legs. It's not like you're looking for a full grown adult, and even then I would still sit there and tighten the grid on that. But again, we're only being shown this, so I'm not sure why they're like they are right here. But if you've seen ours on McElhaney, I had busfuls coming out when we were in Tennessee, and I think, Brian, didn't we not have between 2 and I think 500 people at that? I know that towards the end of the day we lost a few, but we still had almost 200 people going strong at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, looking for baby Joe.
So, and where you see these people here on our search patterns, we were shoulder to shoulder.
100%.
You could reach out and touch the person beside you with your if they were farther than this, they were too far.
They were too far.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of planning and a lot of good team leads and a lot of good searchers such as Brian to pull this off. TBI was vetting them at the high school, and then I had another command center set up in the center of the street, right. And they were sending me busfuls as I got them. Then we were putting them out into the field, and again we had, I wish to God that we did have this kind of terrain. But you would go from a field, and then you would go 100 yards back. You would then go into a wood line. So you had quite a bit in front of you that you had to go through. So
again, this isn't indicative of exactly what they did during the whole course of the 10 or 12 hours or however many hours they were out there. There was a lot of personnel there. This is what the news has fed us. But when you see this, it gets you get a little discouraged, because like you guys said, I know I've seen so many grid searches take place and everyone is kind of close together. I want to talk, Dave and Brian, about the indigent wildlife that's out there. I mentioned in the beginning of the show, Moreno Valley 60 freeway at Gilmore Springs Road. I did a search. It's about 26 miles from the residence and 20-something miles from the alleged reported abduction, which we know is bullshit. So it's a 20 some odd mile distance from the residence. And what I did was I looked up the wildlife. They put feeder deer, mountain lions who feed on the deer, bobcats, coyotes, mule deer, wild donkey, turkey vultures, reptiles, birds, raptor-like hawks, rattlesnakes, spiders, tarantulas, red diamond rattlesnakes, South Pacific, highly toxic and venomous rattlesnakes, gopher and king snakes. Dave, when I mentioned to you about the turkey vultures, again, if you suffer from PTSD, maybe mute this or pause it and come back. Dave, turkey vultures, in your experience, and I'll go to you, Brian, after that, because you both have experience in this. What are these wildlife, this turkey vulture bird, the size, and what is it capable of?
As you know that turkey vultures, there's hell, you'll see 30 of them above something that's dead, about the size of a rabbit. So a human, from what has been studied through everything, is that a turkey vultures alone can actually strip flesh off to the bone in less than 8 to 10 hours. So that in itself is enough on a child to just take that down to absolutely nothing. Your snakes, your things like that, they're not gonna do anything with the human, the body itself. It's going to be the coyotes, the bears, the
mountain lions.
Again, they're going to be drag and go. It's a quick meal. I mean, it would be nothing for one coyote to sit there and drag that back to a den. And again, this child may never be found. I hate to sit there and even think that. It's just, it's appalling to me. I thought about saying something before, and then I didn't want I don't want controversy of just how I feel, but I know that I would have some haters, and I know that some people would agree with me.
I hope you're wrong, but I know that I felt the same thing, that, oh my God, due to the time and due to the size of this child, being out in those, the heat is just tremendous. I mean, people on the scene at the house talk about how hot it is, and all of the above, all the conditions, the indigent wildlife, the amount of time, and this poor baby. Again, you may never ever find anything, because you told me, Dave, before we went live, that turkey vultures eat everything.
Yeah.
They consume everything, and
as a wild hog, a hog will eat everything, I believe, except teeth.
Brian, do I have permission to show that picture you sent to me just now?
Sure.
All right, it won't show any of your personal information. This is the grid search for Joe Clyde Daniels, right? Joe Clyde Daniels. I'm going to put myself full screen so everybody could see it. This is how they searched. It looks like there's a ton of people here, but I don't know if you guys can see that. It goes all the way down. Let me know in the chat if you could see that well. And that line probably goes all the way down. You guys said there's like 500 to 600 searchers, but this is for the search for Joe Clyde Daniels in April or May of 2018, I believe, or maybe later. Thank you for sharing that. Brian, your thoughts on the indigenous wildlife, and do you carry, when you're out in a place like what we're showing here, do you carry the snake venom, anti-venom for your dogs and yourself?
No, that's because most of the time those antivenom need to be refrigerated. So once it gets out of the refrigerator, it has a very, very short shelf life. What we try to do is we want to make sure that anytime we go out and do a search that we're taking our dogs out to, we want to know where the nearest vet is and if they're going to be open. And we want to make sure that vet has anti-venom on the shelf in the fridge, ready to go.
Right. Right.
And then, we want to make sure that we know what's the fastest route from where we are to where that vet is. We just did a search 2 weekends ago for a lady, a senior citizen here with dementia. And the very first, once the emergency managers called us and said they want us to come out, the first thing I did was get on Google and find all the vets in the area and call them until I found one that was A, nearby, that was B, going to be open, and C, had antivenom in the fridge ready to go.
Do some of the rescue searchers, ground searchers, or the paramedics and the medics, because the medics come to these big searches, I know that for a fact. So maybe some of the medics have coolers or devices where they can put this in and have it on scene, because the amount of personnel that I saw at this search on Sunday was tremendous. So I think in this setting, they could have an ambulance standing by running with a cooler in the back to have this on hand. Because what if 5 or 6 people get bit by one of these copperheads, or I don't think that they were copperheads, the red diamond, but they said the South Pacific, red diamond South Pacific rattlesnakes have the highly toxic venom that can kill a human. So I think that I hope that they had it on hand there, and I hope in some of these searches that they would have.
We actually had one down in Alabama last weekend, and we were asking the same thing because they have timber rattlers down there.
Right.
And with the EMA, we made sure that so actually they had a helo standing by, an ambulance standing by to get us to the helo, and just in case. And then they already knew which hospital that they would have taken if somebody did get bit. So there's contingency plans, especially when you go into different parts of the United States, as Brian was saying, is that you couldn't carry enough and so many different kinds of antivenom, because there's so many different snakes and there's so many different antivenoms for those snakes.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be, it's got to be that specific area.
And especially if you're out in the middle of nowhere, if you don't have this, it's a matter of life and death. Because if somebody if somebody gets bit and there's nothing around, and it's the nearest hospital is so far away, or the nearest veterinarian's far away, you could be looking at a tragedy there. I want to listen to this, and I got one more thing to play because it's getting close to that 1 hour mark. So if you guys could hang out with me for another 15 minutes, we would like to take some questions from the live chat. Brian, Dave, would you mind taking some questions from the live chat in about?
No, not at all. And
right.
Just to expound on what we were talking about as far as, pre-planning, one of the things we do is we require everybody on the team to take a wilderness first aid class. That's just something that's required. And it's not to save the victim, it's to save the person searching beside you. And in a situation like a snake bite, everybody knows that we're going to apply a tourniquet. We're going to write the time the tourniquet was applied above the snake bite. We're going to seal off that limb, and then we're going to get that person to emergency care.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of people didn't know that, but that's great to know. Thank you for sharing that, Brian. Here we go with this last report, and I got one more after this I want to play for you guys.
Joining us live with the latest on the search, Mario.
Bob, Jen, and the question remains this morning, where is 7-month-old baby Emmanuel Haro? Well, following his arrest, both parents arrested late last week. That search intensifying here over the weekend into the hills of Moreno Valley, where the father was seen with detectives. Take a look here. The latest search efforts, cameras capturing the boy's father, Jake Haro, in an orange jumpsuit, cuffed alongside San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies and cadaver dogs near brush just off the 60 freeway. I
want to tell you, too, as a retired NYPD detective, these detectives from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office and the Riverside County Sheriff's Office are not happy that he took them out there and they didn't find anything. Now, they're not going to be treating him bad or anything like that, but they're definitely not happy. And they said in a statement that they will continue to search until they find his remains. Now, will they be able to do that? It's that, that we don't know. But at the end of the day, the odds of them finding this baby are not good. I'm just being honest with you. Not that it's a wild goose chase, not that he, maybe he did in fact dump his child here along this area, and it went down. I mean, this is just speculation here. He could have taken him in a garbage bag or anything that he discarded, put him in, and threw him like right over down this ravine here. This is a very steep. If you look at the news reports, you'll see this is very steep. And if he was there for days, again, wildlife could have grabbed him, dragged him, took him up way into the mountains, and I hate to say it, fully consumed or scattered his remains to places where it could possibly never be found, because at that point it would just be a guessing game. But there's a chance that this monster took them out there just to put them on a wild goose chase. Yes, I see people saying that in the chat. That's a possibility as well. We don't know. We don't know all the true facts. We don't know if Emanuel is 7 or 9 months. I see that in the chat. We don't know if they found, in fact, blood inside the home or blood out at this location, because they're not telling us anything. There's no press conferences. There's no updates. They are keeping this stuff close, and they are doing it for a reason. I'm going to ask that question with Brian and Dave about the lie, because it's alleged that they went out to a Home Depot type store and purchased a bunch of different items. None of it's been confirmed with the police, because the police are not talking about it. This is all just stuff that's out there on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. So I'm going to ask them about lie and if that would help to throw the dogs off the scent. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
Gilman Springs Road on Sunday, a remote field here in Moreno Valley, about 10 miles south of where baby Emmanuel was initially reported missing in Yucaipa. Officials confirming the search ended without finding the infant's body. Baby Emmanuel first reported missing the evening of August 14th when his mother, Rebecca Haro, initially claimed she was attacked outside a Big Five store in Yucaipa and that her child was taken. But detectives now believe no kidnapping ever happened. Both parents were arrested Friday at their home in Cabazon on suspicion of murder. Meanwhile, we've been seeing vigils continue to be held for baby Emmanuel, with the community demanding answers.
My birthday, and just affects me because I have babies at home as well. So, it's very close to home.
That woman just showed more emotion than Rebecca, than Jake, than Rebecca's mom, than anybody from this family that we've seen on TV. This girl, who was a community member, just showed more emotion than anybody that we saw interviewed, including the monster mom, the monster father, the monster grandmother. This complete stranger was more upset than these pieces of human garbage.
It's very close to home.
If these people don't want to come forward to doing the right thing, well, let God do his will.
While the mother reported her son was believed to have been kidnapped, sheriff's authorities unfortunately say they believe the child is dead. Officials conducting extensive searches in the areas of Yucaipa and Cabazon, where several search.
So I'm going to bring you guys back on. Brian, Dave, if they threw lye on this poor baby's body and discarded him, would that help to throw off or speed up the decomposition, or more importantly, throw off dogs from finding the scent of human remains and decomp? Brian?
I don't think lye is going to affect the dogs at all. Again, we train our dogs on all stages of human decomposition, from fresh, that barely has any odor, all the way to the point where it's an aged bone. There's no more tissue, and we still get a trained final response on the bone. So all the lye does is speed up the process of decomposition, but it doesn't take away the odors. So all the odor that the dogs are smelling are volatile organic compounds, VOCs, and that's what the dogs are looking for. They're looking for the specific VOCs that are related to human decomposition.
There you go. Yes, there is no death penalty in California. I see that in the comments. People are asking. California, the state of California, and district attorney and judges and whoever handled this case has got a lot of explaining to do, and it's got to be it's got to have a lot of people in those areas where this directly affects really angry. The state of California has 48 hours to bring charges on Rebecca and Jake. And tomorrow there will be a hearing in Riverside County Court, I believe. But the filing of the charges can be extended by a judge. He can grant an extension for good cause if it is a severe or extreme charge. And the charge that they have written out is murder. They haven't yet officially filed them. So they were arrested on Friday. Friday kind of is like towards the end of the day, so that's not going to count. The weekends don't count because court is not open. So they have Monday, Tuesday, that's the 48 hours. And if they had an extension by a judge, then they can have a little additional time to do their investigation. But let's take a listen. This is an attorney talking about California and what they have to do tomorrow. We're going to see this tomorrow.
Case. The fact charges have not yet been filed could be a result of the fact that the authorities aren't sure which county is the proper place to file, or it could be that they're still working up the case.
Yeah, the double counties, folks, is they could be still trying to determine where Emanuel, little baby Emanuel, was murdered. Was he murdered in San Bernardino County, or was he murdered in Riverside County? So that is something that could be why we see two district attorneys' offices working on this case, and a lot of behind the scenes investigation. Things happen as we speak. So things are happening. But Don Cato says, okay, not officially filed. Tomorrow, we're going to be seeing official charges filed. That's going to be happening tomorrow. We will report, Ed Wallace and myself will report on that after the fact. We won't be doing it live, but we will be talking about the charges tomorrow.
They have suspicions, but do they have enough evidence? Or it could be that they're still working up the case. They have suspicions, but do they have enough evidence to really support criminal charges?
So that's what I wanted to play. Let's go to the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Hashtag Dave, hashtag Brian, hashtag DutyRon. Please give us your questions as it pertains to the search for baby Emanuel. Dave and Brian, I want to just start off by saying thank you for taking an hour of your time on a Monday night. I really only asked you guys today to do this with me. So I want to thank you so much for educating our audience and taking the time out. You guys are great. So thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Always. Always.
I'm trying to look to see if there's any questions in the chat. I don't see any questions, but I know sometimes it's delayed. So let's take a look and see if there's anything in the chat. I want to go over to the super chats and say thank you to everybody. Jody, thank you for the 20 super sticker. Perfectly Imperfect, thank you for becoming a new member. Maxicina, thank you for becoming a member. Jody, thank you for becoming a member. Chaos Divers, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Cheryl, thank you for being a member for 25 months. She says justice for Emanuel. Absolutely. Bring them home. Let's hope and pray for the best possible scenario. Emily, thank you for gifting a membership. And Heather, thank you for the 2. We in the News is at a medical examiner's office. I'm not sure. I'm trying to make sense of that one. But thank you for the super chat. All right, let's see. Questions. Are they still searching? Here's one question from Voices of Many Waters. Are they still searching where Ahmed said they were spotted with the stroller at night? We don't know that. I don't know that. I didn't see any reports before we went live that alluded to more searching today on the 25th. No searches that I saw from Monday. Here's one for Brian. Are female dogs better scent equipped than male dogs? Andrea, she had to do it. She had to go there.
Watch your answer, Brian. Watch your answer.
To be honest with you, not that I have ever seen. My dogs, my working dog is a female, but I know people with male dogs who do just as well. I don't think it's a male female issue when it comes to search dogs, because it really it's not. I always tell people it's not about the breed, it's not about the sex, it's about the drive, it's about the dog. Does the dog have the drive to do the job and to stick with the job and to not give up? That's the key. Like you saw the little black dog, she's pushing that ball in my face because that's her drive. She wants to go, and she will push that ball on me until I make her quit. And it's the same when we get out in the field and start searching. She is going to search until she finds her target or until I make her stop.
Here's another one for you. Thank you for that answer. Connie Presley says, well, she asked it to Dave, but this would be to you. How long can dogs work? ? Can they work more than 3 days in a row?
Absolutely. We just came back from a deployment in Texas, and my dog worked 4 days on, 1 day off. So it's just a matter. Of course, you want to make sure that you're taking care of your dog during the search and after the search. You want to make sure that you're keeping your dog extra hydrated. You want to make sure that they have everything that they need, that you're checking them over, you're checking their paws, you're checking their limbs, you're making sure that they don't have any injuries. And then it's, for my dog, 2 to 3 hours is her max operational period. Some people can search a little longer, some a little less. But for me and my dog, 2 to 3 hours, if we're going to stop, I'm going to make her stop. We're going to come in, we're going to cool off, we're going to break, we're going to make sure she gets plenty of liquid. Right. We're going to make sure that she gets electrolytes.
It's the right thing to do. These dogs are our best friends. They're these are hardworking dogs that, like you said, will continue to work. Dave, you're getting a lot of complaints for the noise that you're creating with the shaking of the desk. So Dave is taking the hit. You got to keep your hands up because somebody sees your camera moving and then they hear the noise. So you're getting a timeout, Dave. You're in a timeout right now.
Haven't even touched it.
Spirit Guide reveals, Dave, do you wear a particular rattlesnake proof boot when searching that the bite cannot go through? That's a good question. Are there special boots?
So there are special boots that you can wear for specific, for venomous snakes, of course. My go-to, now I just realized why my camera's shaking, is because every time that I move my leg.
Yeah, Sierra Brown.
All right, so it wasn't the hands, it was the feet. So I got my tapping shoes on. My favorite is, and that way you can get a comfortable pair of boots, is snake gaiters. And what that does is that they actually look like shin pads for a catcher or a hockey goalie. And a snake can't bite through them, and it goes from the top of the foot all the way up to the kneecap. That way they're a little bit more easier to work with. And when you're done with them, you just unsnap them in the back and you take them off, and you still got your comfy boots on. So I like the snake gaiters better than I do actual the snake boot itself.
Excellent. People in the chat are saying you're in trouble. No, he's not in trouble. I was just joking.
I can't see what I wonder what the punishment's going to be for that.
You are guilty as charged, Dave. Anyway,
10 lashes with the wet noodle.
Yeah,
wet noodle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wet noodle right across
noodle.
All right. Little Patty says, DutyRon or anyone on the panel, do you think Baby Emmanuel is possibly still alive, maybe sold? I'm going to answer for me. I say, and I wish that I was wrong, and I hope that I'm wrong. I say no. There's no chance that Baby Emmanuel is still alive or sold. I believe that these monsters murdered him, and Jake has past violent propensity against his own flesh and blood with his daughter in 2018. So you got to realize, little Patty, who we're dealing with. These are monsters, and Jake is 32 years old. So he's been harming children, his own children, since 2018, since he was in his 20s. This guy's a piece of human garbage. I'm trying not to curse. He's a piece of shit. And I think that he definitely murdered his son. And they both know about it, and more than the two of them knew about it as well. Dave, over to you. What's your thoughts?
Again, what's going through my mind, I don't know if I would get in trouble from the community, how I really feel.
Okay.
It's just a shame that this guy reproduced again. I'll just leave it at that. But
California,
I think that the system has failed this child, and it's not just this child. Last week we had one down in Tennessee, 10 years old, and he walked away from the house. No, he didn't. After a day and a half of searching, finally he was 19 miles away, buried in a tote.
Wow.
So
terrible.
I'm tired of the system failing these children, and I don't. How do you stop this? How do you stop this? I guess would be my next question.
Yeah, it's a shame. Brian, your thoughts on that question, because she wanted everybody to get asked.
Is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. Is it probable? Not very. No. And that's kind of where I stand on it. I mean, anything's a possibility, but the probability is that they did something to that child and now they're trying to cover it up. How many times have we seen a parent say, Dave was there, Casey Anthony, they kidnapped my child. The little girl in Indianapolis, Indiana, the little girl who they ended up having to do the search in the landfill for. Same story. Somebody took my baby. We see that over and over and over again. And in every case, it's a lie. It's a ruse. It's a deflection to point the finger somewhere other than where it needs to be pointed.
Well said, Brian. Thank you for that. Ladybug has a question for you. Do dog handlers go through training in order to learn to read the dog's behavioral changes? Great question.
So, yeah, that's a fantastic question. And we absolutely go to training. I actually started my training before I ever even got a dog. I went to classes and learned about scent theory and learned about the legalities and the laws and the things that go behind that. And then I trained all my dogs myself. We take my dogs. We've been to conferences in Colorado. We've been to conferences in New Mexico. We've been to conferences in Kentucky. We have conferences come to Oklahoma. I've trained down in Texas with the first detection canine out of one of the colleges down there at College Station. We have a guy coming from Missouri who has a Storm Canine Solutions who's coming to do training here for us. I've trained with Dr. Paul Martin, who does advanced aged graves and clandestine graves and aged remains. He actually he traveled overseas to find lost and missing soldiers in old battlegrounds and old war areas. So we are constantly training and learning ourselves, but learning how to read the dog's behavior, that's just one of those things that, the behavior change, it's not taught, and every dog is different. And that comes from spending the time working with your dog over and over in every kind of condition, every kind of environment, that you can imagine: hot, cold, wet, dry, whatever. We train in all the elements so that you understand what your dog does in the situation.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that information. And, Dave, I know you have, lots of different dog handlers that you work with. Brian was one of them. You guys have a long history of friendship. I met Brian through you and Twyla and, Gene Robinson and the whole crew. This goes back to 2021, I think, or maybe earlier. I was talking with you guys. So I want to personally thank EquuSearch Midwest. I want to thank Brian with the Oklahoma Search and Rescue. Wait a minute. Correct me, Brian. I'm getting it wrong, but I'm going to link it in the description. Your outfit, everything that you do for searching for the missing and helping out, it's a job that we don't get paid for. So if you can support these two great organizations, they'll be linked in the description. I love both of these guys. I love the hearts that they have. I love the dogs that you have. I love the team members and all of the resources. There's not a phone call that Dave clicks to voicemail. He answers everyone's calls. So when someone calls and asks for help searching for one of their missing loved ones, Dave and his team, and that goes for Texas, that goes with Brian, if they get asked to come out and do something and they can actually physically do it, they have the resources and they're not wrapped up in another case, they go out and do it. So thank you, gentlemen, for having hearts of gold and doing God's work. And, look, I protected and served the citizens in New York for over 2 decades with Ed Wallace. We were down at 9/11 when the World Trade Center attack happened. But we were there doing our jobs. You guys are doing your jobs for free. So I have to tip my cap to you. I'm wearing the EquuSearch Midwest shirt that I was issued by Dave.
I'm going to cut you off right there. I'm going to tell you one thing. Knowing who I know now, I guarantee you that if they didn't pay you a damn dime, you would have been on that pile looking for your brothers.
You're right.
Without a doubt. So let's not throw money into the equation because you got paid and we don't. You guys were still there. You wasn't thinking about, let's get some overtime or let's do this. No, you were digging for your brethren that needed to be found. So my hat goes off to you, my friend. So I appreciate you and everybody that sacrifices every day of their lives and does things the right way for the right reasons.
Yeah, not to mention the danger. I mean, we're not getting, there's very little threat of getting shot. While it has happened on one particular case that we have here locally, it's highly unlikely that, somebody's going to come running up on me with a gun to shoot me. So, hats off to all the law enforcement. We love all our law enforcement partners and we do everything we can to help them. We want to be their eyes and feet.
I appreciate that, gentlemen. I want to just go one step further to toot Ed Wallace's horn, and he won't like that I did this. But on September 11th, Ed Wallace's brother died of brain cancer, and he was a NYPD detective. Ed was his caregiver, and his brother passed away on September 11th. Do you know where Ed Wallace was on September 11th? He came on the night of September 11th and came down and served on the pile September 12th. The day after his brother died, he suited up on the night of September 11th and knew he was coming back down to search on the pile the day after his brother passed away from brain cancer. So kudos to Ed Wallace. Again, a gem, and he would be here to help any one of you guys with any type of the guy operates drones. He knows a lot about everything. So Ed Wallace is a great man, and he was working tonight, so he couldn't be here with us. But I want to also say thank you to the replay viewers, the super chatters, the moderators who don't get paid here. They're volunteers. So shout out to Dawn Marie, Joey Brooklyn. Our producer is right here. Kristen. She's going to link all of your stuff in the description after the end of this. So I want to thank you all for being here. This is what it's all about. Justice for Baby Emmanuel. May he continue to, in my opinion, rest in peace. And may these monsters tomorrow get arraigned on the full charges of murder in the first degree in the state of California, whether it's in Riverside County District Attorney's Office or in San Bernardino. This is what it's all about. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, I want to thank you all for being here. We'll catch you on the next one. We'll update you tomorrow. We're going to leave with this. Thank you, gentlemen. Much love and respect from Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Good night.